Hello again. Now that the United States has joined much of Europe in taking a sharp right turn, we in Britain are left to stare despondently at the awful leader with whom we have ended up. Trump is dynamic, cannot wait to get on with the job, and has some pretty radical ideas to tackle the problems his country faces. One feels that things are actually going to change in America. He may be vulgar and brash, but so what? It makes a change to hear somebody speak in a direct way to ordinary people. By way of contrast, just look at Keir Starmer. He is a grey man in every respect. He looks grey, his voice is tired and grey, and his policies are anything but radical and exciting. He looks and speaks like a clerk at the town hall in charge of handing out parking permits or perhaps arranging for householders to get new recycling bins. Was there ever such a dull and colourless Prime Minister? I think you'd need to go back to Stanley Baldwin and his policy of safety first before you found a less interesting Prime Minister. All that is bad enough, of course. It might not matter if he were principled and honest. He isn't, though. He cannot open his mouth without telling a lie. We saw this, of course, when clips of film emerged of his speaking in 2020, when he was campaigning to be leader of the Labour Party. He promised to abolish tuition fees at university. It was bold policies of that sort which persuaded people to vote him in as leader, of course. He has just raised tuition fees rather than abolishing them, which he called a pledge 4 years ago. Every policy Starmer introduces breaks some promise or other which he has made in the past. When he told us that he would close down the hotels being used for asylum seekers, none of us were the least bit surprised when he instead opened new ones because of the flood of illegal immigrants which surged after he was elected. In the same way, he said that the camp for migrants at RAF Wethersfield in Essex should be closed. Now he's in power, it's doubling its capacity. One feels instinctively that things are likely to be a little different with Donald Trump. When he says that he will stop the flow of illegal immigrants across the southern border of the United States, one rather suspects that not only does he mean what he says, but that he will actually do it. It is the same with mass deportations. I think he'll be true to his word about that as well. In short, Trump is a man who will probably keep his word and ride roughshod over the objections of timid and fearful administrators. As for foreign affairs, I'm reminded of the Iranian hostage crisis in 1980, when Iran had seized many US citizens and held them illegally. Jimmy Carter seemed powerless to do anything about freeing them, but when Ronald Reagan was voted in, Iran freed them shortly before he assumed office, which was a wise move. I think that the Iranians might find that they would be wise not to push their luck once Trump comes to power. Why can't we have a man like that instead of that cowardly and dishonest weasel that we actually have in Downing Street? Does anybody think there's any chance he might resign sometime before the 5 years of his administration come to an end?